Filmmaker Mighty Alberti set out to make a film noir about detectives. But along the way, it turned into a documentary comedy about senior citizens. It's called The Mole Agent. I'm Tom Powers, and this is Pure Nonfiction. Mighty Alberti is based in Santiago, Chile. 6 years ago, she directed a documentary called Tea Time, as in sipping tea, that was beloved at film festivals. Tea Time is about a group of older ladies in Chile who have gathered once a month to share tea, desserts, and gossip for the past 60 years. It won multiple prizes for its charm and humor. Mighty followed that up with a documentary called Grown Ups, about a group of adults with Down syndrome striving to take on more responsibility as they enter middle age. For her new film, she had a different plan in mind. She wanted to explore her curiosity about detectives. She met Detective Romulo, whose office looks like that of a private investigator from the movies, complete with Venetian blinds. In The Mole Agent, Detective Romulo has a client, a woman who wants to investigate the nursing home where her mother lives. The client fears the nursing home is treating the residents poorly. She wants someone to spy from the inside. Detective Romulo needs a mole to go undercover, so he places a newspaper ad seeking someone between the age of 80 and 90. He gets a deluge of applicants because no one else is hiring in that age group. And so begins a film that seeks to shine a light on a generation we often neglect. The candidate who wins the job is Sergio, in his mid-80s. His wife recently passed away, and he hopes this job can help take his mind off his loss. One challenge is that Sergio isn't really cut out to be a spy. Detective Romulo has to teach Sergio how to use gadgets like hidden cameras and even basic technology like an iPhone. Mighty got permission to film inside the nursing home, but under slightly false pretenses. She told them that she wanted to follow the experience of a new resident. What the people of the nursing home didn't know is that the new resident would be an undercover agent. The film blends comedy and poignancy. Sergio's arrival at the home creates a frisson of excitement for the women residents who are impressed by his good manners and dapper appearance. Mighty's films look more like fiction than a typical documentary. Her shots are carefully composed, locked down on a tripod rather than handheld, and with a vibrant color palette. You might wonder, how much of this is set up? She answers that question in our conversation. The Mole Agent gained the support of the New York production company Motto Pictures, that works with leading directors such as Steve James, Roger Ross Williams, and Morgan Neville. The film had a world premiere at Sundance in January. Then, like so many films this year, it lost screening opportunities due to COVID-19. I was supposed to host a screening at the Miami Film Festival on March 12th, but that very day, the festival came to a shortened end. Instead, Mighty and I went out for a dinner on Miami Beach. That's the last time I was in a restaurant. Now The Mole Agent is available for rent on Apple iTunes. It will eventually come to public television on the POV series. I reached Mighty by Zoom at her office in Santiago, Chile. I started by asking why this older generation has been a recurring focus in her films.
I don't know if it's the generation or the way that I can shoot that generation that it's comfortable for my style. I have the doubt. Because in the character of Tea Times always says that between a baby of months and between a baby of 1 year, you can see a lot of change. And they say that between an old woman in 80 years and 81, you can see the same change. So it's an age that you can see changes in action and you can shoot process that have developing. And as I never make interviews and I follow realities, I can really shoot a structure, and I can really shoot life in a period, not short, but in years, and I don't need 10 years to see changes. It's interesting for me that I try to catch the present shooting, and it's an age that allows me that. Maybe if I do films with children, I will live the same, but it's more complicated, I think.
That's so interesting that you say that because I think sometimes we think of old people as not changing, as becoming, more ingrained in their ways and, stubborn and resistant to change. So when you say that, a person who's 80 in their 80s goes through a lot of change in a year, can you elaborate what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that maybe in the routine you don't have so much change that it's comfortable for me to shoot because I learned the routines and I know what to shoot. But they are living a lot of processing when you're there. Lose friends, for example, that it's constantly. They, at least in Chile, they are always trying to deal with the loneliness that they feel of their families. The body not always help you, so they usually start to have issues being dependent, or in the other hand, I don't know, in the beginning of the mole agent, it's a generation that they wanted to work, but it's super difficult for them to find a job at his 85. I think that they are trying to be integrated, and they are trying to live the usual life, but they not always can do it, so they face conflicts every day with the society or with their own bodies or with the relationship with the families. Yeah, they have to deal with different situations. And for me, it's super important that I realize that making also the grown-ups and well, tea time and the mole agent, that you cannot, I cannot make a speech about old people. Like, I cannot say like old people, it's like something, because I don't see a stereotype. Like in the same film, you see people that want to work, people that are losing memory, people that feel lonely, people that feel really well as the or very independent as the main character. But I cannot make a unique unique sentence about old aging. And it was the same for me with the grown up. I cannot say how the Down syndrome people is. Like, each person is a world. So I think that I can continue making films about old age because there are a lot of different lives at that age. Yeah.
Let me ask you specifically about the mole agent. How did you arrive at this idea to film this secret agent infiltrating this nursing home?
Yeah, it was completely a different starting point. I was obsessed of make a documentary about a private detective because I really love fiction films about private detective, and I asked myself, well, what if we do a film noir in documentary? And I start researching all the ex Chilean FBI that are retired and make their own companies. So I interview like 20 retired FBI that were working by their own. And then I met Romulo, the main character. And in the research, I worked with him as his assistant for a couple of months. And I see a lot of clients, I see a lot of cases, and he usually work with moles in weird cases, like parents that want to follow their children, teenagers more than children, companies, universities that are following teachers, like very strange cases that I really feel that the people can resolve by their own, but they hire the mole agents. And I work with the clients and the cases. And at the beginning I thought, okay, I want to make a series with each episode with different moles, but it was so complicated to do it. Like only this film take us 4 years, like to plan how to infiltrate, how can we enter, how can. So it was like, okay, this is impossible for a series. And of course, that the case that he usually worked in retirement homes for me was more near of the topics of my interest. So it was a weird thing. Like I started with this idea of make a detective film, and at the end, I go to tea time again. It's like I started as a film noir, and I went to a observational documentary that I usually do. And I feel in the aesthetic the film is the same. It started complete in a film noir, and it ends full of color.
So you're at this detective agency. I take it you find out that they're going to be investigating this nursing home, and is that when your project got started?
Like once per year, they receive a case of retirement homes. So when I say to them, like, okay, when a new client arrives, I really want to do this. So when a new client arrives, we say, okay, this is, and we make the teaser, for example, with in another case. So we make a rehearsal. But when we were going to start shooting, like 1 month before, his mole broke his hip. So because he usually worked with an old man, so that's why he put the ad in the newspaper, and the new molds arrived. And for me, it was perfect. I like his previous mold because he was very professional, but we didn't expect to have the training because he already knew how to do it. So that was also a new part of the film. And for us was like, nobody is going to buy the newspaper, like trying to find a job at the 80 years, at your 80s. And it was like, I don't know, 50 people or more called and arrived to the interview. And it was like, I cannot believe this. And that was how Sergio appears. That for us was like, I really see him and I got in love. It was like super charming, but was not the perfect candidate for Romulo. So for me, was like I tried to convince him that he was good for me. And I know that he was the worst spy in the world. I love it. Romulo don't love it. So that's it.
Well, it makes for a good film dynamic. And so we kind of get in the film that you had simultaneously contacted the nursing home and described yourself as wanting to make a film inside a nursing home about a new a person who's going to come in. They didn't know that you knew the new person that was going to come in would be the mole agent.
Yeah, it was that tea time helped me a lot for that because tea time was well known in Chile, so they knew the film. And when we arrived, we say, okay, we can make like a film about the old age. We did tea time, and we want to shoot everything that happened here, the good things and the bad things. And if someone new arrived, we want to focus on him or her, wherever. And they allows us. We speak with all the people that work there. They're sign the contract, but of course that we make a big little lie that we never say that the new one is going to be a mole. And so we enter before him, like 3 weeks, a little more. So when he enter, we act as we didn't know each other. Yeah, and it was like my most risky audience, or I was really afraid to show to them. Like it was my big risk, and I knew I have a stomach pain all the time until I show the film to them, and I knew that I couldn't show to them when I could not say the truth after shooting. I have to show the film to them and say the truth. So a lot of time passes after I say the truth, like 1 year after shooting, because even if I said after shooting, they were not going to be calm. So when I really realized that it was a good place, I started to have the pain in my stomach. Not before, because before I didn't know if they really commit crimes, or it was a good or a bad place. So when I realized it was a good place, it was like, okay, what I'm doing. Um, and then when we finished, the first person that we showed the film was to the owners and the director of the retirement home. And before to show to them, I say, okay, I lied to you, and I want to tell you the film before that you see it. And we say, like, okay, I put a mold. Sergio was a private detective, and they really cannot believe it. And it was like, yeah, but you never suspect about Romulo that it was a little bit weird. No, never, nothing. But they love the film, and they say, okay, this is our reality, and it's really how it's work. And yeah, that was a big relief for us. But it was a risky film all the time to do it, like for that lie, and at the same time because every day it was like he's going to be discovered. Like the first day he was like using the phone with open, I don't know how to say in English, with open voice, like he was
Like a
speaking.
speakerphone. Yeah.
Yeah, speakerphone. It was like, what is he doing? So it like each day was like a painful, risky day, and we never knew if we have a film until the end. Yeah.
That, you think of filmmakers taking risks, going to some remote location, and but you really could have gone far into this project and spent a lot of resources, and then had it blow up in your face if Sergio had decided to quit or got kicked out of the nursing home or some discovery was made.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, yeah, it's not a life risk, of course, as other filmmakers, but it was like a ethical risk all the time, and yeah, not secure film neither to sale. Like I was not secure in which point I can offer this film to co-producers or channels until I'm sure that I have material, and that was very late in the shooting process. Like to know that he's not quitting, he's not discovered, and also was very difficult for me, like to realize that in some point it was not my detective film noir. That was something that I started to discover like during the shooting and during the editing, because for example, I shoot all the client, I have the material of the client, I have all the details of the case, the problems that the client have with their families. I shoot it and I have it, and I edited at the beginning, and it was like, I don't. They give me like a rational structure to go and advance the narrative, but it was not emotional. It was completely like more information, but my heart was not in the information, what was in the travel of Sergio, but was super complicated for me as a filmmaker, like to quit of my narrative detective idea and to develop to character driven, maybe emotional travel, and I quit the case also.
It's so interesting to hear that as an outsider, because the mole agent has a sense of whimsy and humor that is similar to Tea Time. So it's surprising for me to hear that you went into this project thinking that it was going to have an entirely different kind of tone.
Yeah, it was like I for me was an experiment of a narrative police detective structure, and that was I wanted to make. It was not. I think the tone is the same as Tea Time because I cannot shoot without humor. For me, humor is super important in documentaries, like to connect with the reality. And in that case, I always thought that the mole have humor because of the contrast. It was like a old man that want to be a detective, like that has humor. A place that suppose that has a crime, but it's a retirement home, but really not. So that idea of the worst spy in the world started with a premise or a humor starting point that I knew that was going to have humor. But yeah, maybe I was planning a more narrative, classical structure that the one that I had.
Let me ask you about your, appetite to put humor into documentaries. Documentary film as a genre is very susceptible to being overly earnest. Can be very serious. Can be downright depressing sometimes. Um, and I wonder, as you developed your career, um, how you came to focus on your style and your tone.
I realized it in some way two things. Like in documentary in general, the humor it's more allowed to document to performance documentary when the director is a character of the film, usually like Berliner
She's referring to Alan Berliner, who's directed first person films like Wide Awake about his insomnia.
or Michael Moore, like when the people are allowed to laugh about their self, like more a performance. I don't know. I can thinking Wide Awake, like he's allowed to say, okay, these are my problems to sleep, and I can do my performance and laugh about myself, or yeah, a lot of cases that yeah, I'm going to move to another extreme, like Super Size Me. He can do it's like okay, it's a political documentary, but it's funny because he's using his own body, and you can laugh about that. But you cannot do that with a character that it's not yourself. But at the same time, I really feel like in the reality that I'm observing, or the realities that I usually choose to shoot, I have good time in the day by day situations. Like the other day, the sound man that worked with me in all the films, and he saw Demolition for the first time, and he told me, I cannot believe that I cry all the film because in my memory, it was like a comedy all the time because I spent all the day laughing with the characters and having a super good time. And in our memories, all the time that we were shooting tea time or the grown-ups or the mall, we were enjoying the life with the characters. So I usually, as I shoot for many years the films, I usually choose characters that I really want to share a lot of time with them, and that usually implies that I laugh with them. And I'm not living a drama all day because I cannot live. I don't want to live that. Even if the structure or when time passes is a drama, the day by day we really enjoy to be with characters. So we choose people that we want to share life in some way. So and that for me, that connection, it with laugh and it with humor or I can it's like when you get in love, I cannot get in love with someone that don't make me laugh. It's the same for me with the characters. I choose characters that make me laugh. So even if the big structure is a drama, your day by day is funny, and you can have both in life. Like, okay, I can be living a very hard moment in the life, but I can laugh during the day anyway. So the life is not black and white, and I feel that if I'm shooting present, I need that. And humor is a good way to connect with audience also. Like when I'm showing the films, I always ask, do the people laugh in the theaters? Like that is my question about if the film is working. It's not if the people cry. It was like they laugh, and in which part do they laugh? It's super important for me as a director because like I take the hands, they laugh all together, and then you can move them to the drama. Yeah, life is that, I think, for me.
Some people watch this film and think that it's almost fiction, that, so much of it is staged. And I think a lot of what you've said so far, clears up the degree to which you were really following something. You were setting some wheels in motion, but following what happened as it went along. Um, I wonder if there's anything else that you can, say to someone who watches this film and says, "Oh, this is all set up."
Yeah, for me, documentaries are a fiction that are constructed by reality. In like when I decide where to put the camera, and there is a point of view that, of course, that I constructing fiction, but as someone told me the other day, it's 100% reality and 100% fiction. Yeah, it's like it's all what is happening. It's real, but I really work in how to stylize or to put a style in reality to make you feel as an audience that you are inside the film. So I try to imitate all the classical fiction things like I don't know how to say in English.
She means to say a reverse angle. One example in The Mole Agent, we see Detective Romulo facing Sergio as he explains how to use a cell phone. The shot sequence moves from Romulo's face to Sergio's like you'd see in a fiction film.
Yes, I have one camera, but I have two shots. That is because like my characters repeat the things a lot of like when he's training Sergio like takes 6 hours and learn how to use the cell phone. So I have time to move with the camera, and I'm really conscious that in the editing I want to put all my alternatives, or we really studied which lenses were used in the film noir, and we work with that lenses, we work with that kind of lights, and we usually spend a lot of time shooting. Like I always say, I'm like an actor that they pay me, the producers pay me for weight. Like I'm, there are some days that I press rec, and some days of my shootings days, I don't have material. It's because we were waiting with the camera in the perfect shoot that we think that it's a perfect shoot until the things that we are waiting happen in front of the camera, and that takes a lot of times and are like 150 days of shootings. That it's a lot. Only like be waiting and prepare the camera for the things that we are expecting to happen. Of course, that reality surprised you, but we are not like following characters with the camera shootings. Indeed, we never use hand camera because we cannot wait with the heavy camera like in movement. And we have been working for 10 years, the same crew together or more, and we already knew how to move, and we spent a lot of the camera man the other day told me like we spend a lot of time before to start shooting learning how each character of the film move and how it's that work before to start shooting. So it's not only a content research, it's also like we learn together how to shoot each world.
In the 8 months since the film premiered at Sundance, a lot has changed in the world. Nursing homes have been especially hard hit by COVID 19. I asked Mighty if that's changed how she thinks about the film.
Yeah, it's a completely different lecture for me before the COVID and after the COVID of the film. Was like when you didn't, or I was trying to make the people conscious about the topic, and the films go out in a moment that the people is really conscious about it. So the the film it's go like more deep on the people that that I feel that in Sundance, uh, I see both things, that people that was not thinking about it and start to thinking with the film, and people that was connected because they have a family or someone in a retirement home that go very hard for them. But now when we show it, I feel it go hard to everybody, because after the COVID, the people it's asking the question about their parents and the distance, and how to connect with them.
Mighty recalls a scene in The Mole Agent where Sergio is trying to cheer up a resident whose family hasn't visited for many months. Sergio asks Detective Romulo to find photos of the family that he shares in printed out copies with the lonely resident.
And Romulo, when we were in that, he said to Sergio, like, I can bring you an iPad and I can teach you how to use Facebook, and you can show to everybody here by Facebook, like their families. And Sergio was like, I cannot learn a new app. And I also say to remove, like, it's too fake, like how the people, it's going to be by Facebook connected inside a retirement home. And today the retirement home, it's like have a computer and they are by Zoom, like that retirement home, connecting people with their families. And it was like, that was unbelievable for me 2 years ago. And now they are seeing more their families than before, because their family are conscious and are not conscious for the film, are conscious about by COVID, and they are calling their parents by Zoom. And a lot of people that not appears for 5 years appears now to speak with their parents. So let's say thanks to COVID for that, because the people really started to ask that issue. Yeah.
I want to thank Mighty Alberti for speaking with me. Her new film, The Mole Agent, is now available for rent on Apple iTunes. See our show notes for details. Thanks to our team, series producer Hannah Norden-Swan and web designer Cross Strategy. Our theme music is composed by Andre Williams, and our executive producer is Raphaela Nehausen. I'm Tom Powers. You can follow me on Twitter at THOMPowers. You can read our show notes and sign up for our newsletter at purenonfiction.net.